I think that there are 5 mistakes that we make when it comes to family that I think is hurting us, not just in this country, but globally as a community, as a Muslim community, as an ummah. So I want to talk about what I think those 5 things are. Where are we going wrong? Where I believe, you know, through talking to people all over the world and observing and you know, counseling and just dealing with the community, where are the places that I feel that we're going wrong? So I'm going to kind of do them in order of what I think is most important first, and then move on. The first place I think we're getting it wrong is that I think that within our families, within our relationships, we have the wrong center. We have the wrong center, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Many of us put things at the center of our relationship or at the center of our family other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even for us believing, practicing Muslims, we sometimes put other things at the center. And this is very, very dangerous. For example, sometimes we might put another person at the center. And now this is going to be something that's going to sound strange, and it's going to be a subtle mistake that we make, but I think is extremely damaging and extremely dangerous. One of the things that we do, especially as parents and specifically as mothers, is that we sometimes put our children at the center. So as a mother, and this is actually sometimes the way in which we are taught that this is how to be a good mother. And what it is that many of us take our children, and a lot of times it's specifically our sons, let's be honest, and we put that child, that son, at the center of our existence, and we do what I call tawaf around him. Is any of this sounding familiar? What does that mean practically? It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is no longer at the center. And this is subtle, right? You're never going to say, I worship my son, right? If I ask you, do you worship your son? Is anyone going to raise their hand? Who worships their son in this room? No one's going to raise their hand. But what does it really mean to put something other than Allah at the center? I think that the problem we're doing is that we don't have a balance in how we raise our children. And sometimes it becomes very easy, especially with the love and mercy that a mother has for her child, to put the child at the center and do tawaf. So what happens is the mother is now encouraged too. And of course this is rewarded. This is rewarded by society, by culture, that the woman should now live and sleep and wake and eat and not eat around her son or her child, but specifically the son. And a woman's actually expected to, the mother is expected to put aside everything else. You're a mother now, right? And it even takes the role, or it even takes the place of even her role as a wife sometimes. You know, it's like when you first get married, right? And when it's just you and your husband, sometimes you put the husband at the center and you do tawaf around him. But that's until you get a child, right? And then once you get a child, then the child goes at the center. And now even the rights of the husband get put to the side because your center is now your child. Your center is specifically your son. Now, what's the problem with this? Well, there's a lot of problems with this. Number one is that only Allah should be at the center. We shouldn't be living our lives revolving around anyone or anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even our own children. The other problem, and this is a big problem, is that we're raising narcissists. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that we're raising children, specifically men, who then expect that the world actually is supposed to revolve around them. Why? Because their mama revolved around them. And so now this is actually a harm that we're doing to another human being, teaching that human being that the world, the sun rises and sets on them, that they are at the center. This is very dangerous to an individual to feel that way. This is a disease within the heart, a spiritual and psychological disease. But this is the type of person, the type of character that we then raise when we behave in that way. Another problem is we're not raising strong leaders anymore. And I'll explain why. When we don't teach our children, and specifically our boys, to take responsibility, because we do everything for them. They can't even make their own beds, right? Because they're busy playing video games. That's important, right? Now, when we baby our boys in that way, we call it love, right? We do everything for them. No, but I love him, right? I'm doing everything for him to show love, but I'm actually hurting him. And the reason I'm hurting him is I'm handicapping him. I'm not teaching him to take responsibility. And now this is the boy who's supposed to grow up and become the leader, right? Isn't it? He's supposed to now take this role of being the leader. How? He has never learned responsibility. All he does is he has everything done for him, and his only responsibility is to win in, whatever video game he's playing. This is a problem. And we as parents, we don't realize that we're actually contributing to this problem. So when we have the wrong center in this way, we're not just harming our child, but we end up harming the society, because we aren't teaching this future leader to take responsibility. And then to grow and to mature. It's stunting the maturity. And it's really, really creating a very serious problem, later on. And now we have a marriage crisis, right? And when I say marriage crisis, we talk a lot about the marriage crisis of, the divorce rate is this. I'm talking about a different marriage crisis. And that is, there's a lot of single women who can't find men to marry. And this is a crisis that I'm hearing a lot about, where you have women in their 20s, and then they're in their late 20s, and then they're in their 30s, and they cannot find suitable spouses. And a big part of this has to do with the fact that the women are ready to get married and the boys aren't. Because, for various reasons, but part of it is the fact that they haven't been taught that responsibility and that maturity, and they're not ready.